Set amongst the cornfields of the heartland is the fastest short track on the planet, and the fans have turned out for a festival. IndyCars and musical stars are rocking Iowa Speedway for a double dose of concerts and wild racing. It's the Hy-Vee doubleheader weekend for the third year in a row, and this has very quickly become one of the favorite scenes on the yearly IndyCar schedule.
Gonna be a long race.
Use your tools, keep your head together. So we've got a couple of days.
It's great to have a doubleheader, but you just feel incomplete until you get through today.
You like that?
Come to the checkered flag. Nice work, everyone.
Now I'm happy. Great job, guys.
NBC Sports welcomes you to IndyCar Live, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Last night, it was racing into the evening. Today, we're racing in the heat of the middle of the day. Welcome, folks. It is a warm and windy day here in Iowa. We're just east of Des Moines. Lee Diffie, along with NBC Sports IndyCar experts James Hinchcliffe and Townsend Bell. And T-Bell, I just mentioned a few moments ago that this has very quickly become a favorite on the calendar. Why?
Well, this is always one of the fiercest races of the season. It's less than a mile. The speeds are crazy around here. In fact, this year, the IndyCars are faster than they've ever been. Track record set in qualifying, and then you throw in the fun factor. The last couple years with Hy-Vee, the entertainment through the roof, Post Malone performing after the race. Today, this place has it all in America's heartland.
And Hinch, this is race 10, or 11 I should say, of a 17 race season. We saw a little bit of desperation last night, and that because the points are fluctuating quite a bit, and they did last night.
There was a big change in the points last night, guys. A very, very rare mistake from championship leader Alex Palou. Saw him out of the race. He came in here with a 48-point gap over Will Power. Now look, it's only shrunk to a 37-point gap, but look, 46 points. There's now 4 drivers within that same gap. So yes, not too much of a loss to second, but so many more drivers now have entered the conversation. In a time of the championship when we said Palou isn't statistically as strong on these ovals as he is on the road street courses. He's got a great starting position today off pole. He needs to get a strong finish under his belt to keep that championship momentum going.
In last night's first 250 lapper here at Iowa Speedway, it was dominated by 2 drivers in particular. Colton Herter first off, but it was Scott McLaughlin of Team Penske that drove it home.
Green. Inside, still there.
Pass on the outside. Spin in here, spin. Check up. Ah!
Did you have any contact? Not quite sure, to be honest.
Car 26, you have the field.
Clear out.
Think I got him?
Yes. Good job, boys. Okay. Stay right there. Stay up high if you can. Sorry, buddy.
Driver mistake. I just lost it out of 4.
What's going on? You okay then?
Oh yeah, I saved the car. I was sideways at 3 and 4.
Copy.
Go. Green.
Yellow. We're yellow.
What the? Oh, took me out.
Oh my God, what am I doing? Bring her home, bud. There you go. That's a noble.
Yeah, we've got another race tomorrow. We start from pole, so let's go again.
McLaughlin has won on all 3 different types of tracks in IndyCar, but you don't get to properly celebrate like you wanted to last night. But this is right in your alley because that's the way you did it with doubleheaders and supercars most of the time.
Oh yeah, every race is a doubleheader, so it's a bit of my wheelhouse, you know. So I don't mind it. So yeah, body feels good, feel pretty refreshed. It was difficult getting to sleep last night. Partly Eric Church went pretty late, but I was just buzzing. But the XPEL Chevy feels just as good today, and hopefully we can control from the front.
What might be different? What might be a new challenge?
I think the UV, the sun that's on the track right now, it's going to be super hot, and it's going to play a little bit of a difference to the balance of the cars, and I'm sure people are going to be complaining about tyres a little bit more today than what we saw. So just a matter of controlling our pace and make sure we're there or thereabouts at the end.
Scott McLaughlin is not only starting in the front today, Lee, he pulled out the fastest lap ever at Iowa Speedway, over 188 miles per hour in qualifying.
Yeah, pretty interesting that he now considers himself a real IndyCar driver now that he has won on an oval. That was a dominant performance last night from Scotty Mack. Need to remind you that you could win a Chevrolet Corvette. Yes, with thanks to Hy-Vee. If you scan the QR code on the right-hand side of that graphic right now, there were 3 up for grabs this year, and 2 have been given away. So there's only 1 left. That could be for you. Again, thanks to Hy-Vee, and that beautiful Chevy Corvette could be yours. We're halfway through this Hy-Vee doubleheader weekend. Let's get the second half started when we come back.
It's the second half of the Hy-Vee IndyCar weekend, gathered for race number 2 at Iowa Speedway here today. This year at the Indianapolis 500, Catherine Legg was in the ELF Cosmetics car, ELF. Eyes, lips, face. There was a really cool drone show as well depicting the car and the driver, Catherine, and ELF's on-site presence. And there also were significant samples available to spectators. Really cool. And Catherine is back in an Indy car for the first time outside the Indianapolis 500 in a little more than a decade. Second half of the doubleheader for you at Dale Coyne Racing Tay. But first of all, what was the significance of having the first beauty brand as a part of the Indianapolis 500?
You know what? It meant everything. It meant so much to so many people, especially young girls, obviously, because I think most women can relate to some kind of makeup and skincare brands, right? And the amount of people who have come and said, you know, I've switched everything to ELF now because they support you in racing is phenomenal. So hopefully we can take them to do some NASCAR races later on and maybe some other things as well, and introduce them to all the different markets and all the different women race fans across North America, which means a lot to me personally, but I know it's really good for racing too.
Well, you were going well last night. You were running up in the top 12 or so most of the race, and now you get a second chance. How much better prepared are you for today?
Definitely better prepared. You know, we had a couple of things, like a penalty that wasn't supposed to be ours and things like that kind of didn't help yesterday. I think it would have been the team's best finish to date if the things had gone according to plan. So I feel the weight of that on my shoulders today, and it's really hot and it's really physical. So I'm just gonna try and keep out of trouble and do the exact same thing as we did yesterday. The car was great, like so good. We could run with anybody. If we're up front, we can run there. So I just have to figure out a way to get up there, because passing around here, as you know, Kevin, like it isn't a 2-lane track anymore. And so I early on thought, oh, I'll try and go around Ed, and that didn't work out so well for me, and I lost a spot. So then I just kind of backed off and chilled out like most people have. So strategy is going to be key too. Hopefully we can get this ELF car to the front.
We'll see what the number 51 car can do with Catherine Legg. Let's welcome in Georgia Henneberry now.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I'm here by the king of corn country. That's Joseph Newgarden, and he proved yesterday to be so strong on short ovals once again. 22nd to 3rd. He gave most of the credit to his team, and rightfully so. He gained 7 spots alone just on pit stops. And the thing today, he starts 8 spots better in that 14th position. So if all things goes to plan and he can do what he did yesterday, it should be a good day for Joseph Newgarden. Dylan Welch with his teammate.
And Georgia, Will Power had a tough day yesterday. Started 4th, but a penalty and later contact on a restart relegated him to the back of the field in a tougher finish than what they wanted, in 18th. He starts 22nd today, but the good news is Will was quite happy with his car yesterday. They rebounded to a top 10 position before that restart contact, and he saw teammate Joseph Newgarden carve through the field. They know it can be done, so watch for the 12 car to maybe make some bold restart moves and be on the charge to the front. Iowa Speedway always lends itself to great racing. Saw that last night. The fans love it, teams love it, and the drivers love it too.
Iowa Speedway, oh man, that's such a fun race. One of the most extreme but most fun tracks in the calendar.
It's the fastest short track in America. Everything went really fast. I couldn't believe it.
Doubleheader, it's definitely a mental and physical challenge.
Iowa Speedway is just a fantastic short oval.
Come to the checker. You like that? And now I'm happy. Great job, guys.
You're constantly side by side with someone.
The racetrack's fun, the racing's awesome, you can see everything, and they have cool concerts.
Pretty motivated to go back and return to where we deserve to be, fighting for the wins.
There it is, baby. Checkered flag. Way to go, boys. Awesome weekend.
There's no other track that's like Iowa Speedway.
And we get to do it all again today, and just because you were good or if you were bad does not mean it's going to be the same way today. Totally different. In the hot sunshine, drivers are lined up on the grid, and we are not too far away. Before we can race, first it's time for opening ceremonies here at Iowa.
We're able, remove your hats, and veterans render a hand salute as the Iowa National Guard presents our nation's colors. Here to offer today's invocation, please welcome from Fellowship of Christian Athlete Sports, Chris Barr.
Join together in prayer. Thank you, Lord. We are so grateful to all those you have worked through to make this experience possible. We lift our prayers to former President Trump and attendees of the rally yesterday in Pennsylvania. We hold the injured and the family and the friends of the victims in our hearts, and we pray for peace and civility during these difficult times. Thank you for our passions for racing and music that connect us and draw us closer to you, Lord. Fill our heart tanks with the fuel that only you provide, and ignite in us a spark that fires a response to love greater. Help us to have courage in the face of fear like our heroes on the track. May we compete and race and live and love in a way that's worth the price that you paid for us to show us how much you love us. Thankful for the Hy-Vee family every day, meeting needs, sharing smiles, making a difference, simply changing lives and uniting communities. Lord, it is your plan, your will, your power, your love. This is your day that you have made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. The victory is yours. The glory is yours. In the powerful name of Jesus we pray, amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome national award-winning independent recording artist and former NBC's The Voice finalist, Michelle Brooks Thompson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed ere the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' bright glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, see, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
It is no secret that it is hot here in the heart of Newton, Iowa. And just to show you how hot, I have my handy dandy heat gun right here on pit lane. If we take a swoop of this, it measures at 109.3 degrees, and that's right here on pit lane. I can't even imagine how hot it's going to be in these NTT Indy cars, but it's hot for everybody on pit lane, the crews, even the spotters right up there. I was told by David Hunt, one of the spotters, that their shoes were melting on the roof. That's just how hot it is here in Newton, Iowa. But nonetheless, we're set, we're ready to go. Kevin Lee.
In Georgia, it's not even noon local time, and there's so much more than racing. There are 4 headlining concerts, including one of the coolest things I've seen in person in a while, Eric Church performing last night, and before the race, he got to hang out with the Meyer Shank guys, part of their association with Sirius XM. You'll see them on Felix Rosenquist's car. David Malukas was there as well, and we've still got Post Malone coming up today at Iowa.
Iowa Speedway, such a fun race. It's probably the most fun race of the year.
The racetrack's fun, the racing's awesome, and they have cool concerts.
Green. Hitachi car's fast, so we're going to work hard as a team to be better than the rest, and I think we can do it. Outside, still there, clear. Hey, you like that? Like that.
I love Iowa. Obviously, it was a great day. Just got to elevate my game for race 2.
Clear up both. Outside, clear Scott. Outside, clear. Coming to the checkers. Nice work, everyone.
To be able to come back and do it again, I'm so proud of the team. It is a fantastic effort.
Makes you wonder what's going to go down today in part 2 of this Hy-Vee doubleheader weekend as NBC Sports welcomes you to Iowa Speedway. It's race 11 of the 17-race season for 2024 in the NTT IndyCar Series. The Hy-Vee One-Step 250 presented by Gatorade. It is an 87-degree day and this is going to be some hard work for the 27 drivers contesting this 250-lap race. Let's get things closer to race start as we head down to the pits and kick things off with Georgia Hennebury. Georgia?
Lee, I know what's going to happen today. It's going to be hot and it's going to be intense, but a driver who had a huge rebound yesterday, that Santino Ferrucci. He started 8th, fell all the way back down to 20th after 2 penalties and worked his way back to 6th, capturing his 7th top 10 of the season. The thing today, he starts all the way back in the 20th position, so it's nothing that the 14 team can't handle, but they're going to have their work cut out for them. Dylan Welch.
Georgia, Scott Dixon called last night's 4th place finish messy. There were some things out of their control, some things in their control, so tightening those up is job number 1 today. The last night strategist Mike Cole told me if you have a good car, you better win with it, because today will be much different. He expects the intensity to ramp up quite a bit this afternoon, so minimizing any mistakes will be key with the track position that this 9 team currently has. Dixon starts 3rd, but Kevin, they are still looking for their first ever Iowa win.
Dylan, Alex Palou is looking for his first oval win and thought he might be in play for that last night, but a rare mistake. He says he's still not sure why the car went around, but he's ecstatic that he gets another chance. He doesn't have to wait 3 weeks or even a week. He has to go back at it again today. The car is good. He starts on the front row, something he's not used to. It's been about 2 years since he's had a result like that, but Alex Palou is still very much in charge of the championship as we get set to go for the 2nd time in 2 days at Iowa Speedway, Lee.
I'm interested, Kevin, to see the difference in what today brings. In the heat of the day, with this 7/8 of a mile track being bathed in sunshine. Hinch, what do you think about this? These hot topics.
Absolutely. I mean, all about championship leader Alex Palou. We talk about how he has to get that result on an oval. He's good at bringing home the 5ths, the 8ths, but he really wants to get back up on the podium on an oval. Pressure. Was it pressure that led to that mistake? First in the pit stop, then on the racetrack, and of course, pit stops with passing at such a premium on the racetrack, Townsend. These crews, these men and women going over the wall, they made the difference yesterday in the pass for the lead. McLaughlin on Herta, and they're going to make a huge difference today.
Can I add another P to that, T-Bell? Penske. Only twice in the last 10 races has a team other than Team Penske won. Well, somebody going to beat the captain's drivers.
Since 2016, they've won something like 60% of all the oval races, so they're the odds-on favorite to do it again today. And when you think about McLaughlin, Newgarden, and Will Power here, it is going to be formidable for the competition to knock Penske off their perch, not only at Iowa, but just an oval race in general, as we take a look at Scotty Mack starting from pole, a new track record. Never before have we seen speeds this fast. It's the hybrid era on ovals for IndyCar, and McLaughlin getting it done over 2 laps.
But I love that line that Dylan said from Mike Hull, which is, if you had a good car last night, you better have won with it. He did that. The reason is completely different conditions today. Track temps way up, wind, change direction, change severity. That's going to affect these cars quite a bit. So you've got to stay on top of the changes here today.
But yesterday in the race, effectively the whole field, all 27 drivers circulating at about the same lap time. That's why the premium is so high on starts and restarts. I think the desperation level is going to be higher today. Hotter temperatures, but the drivers also know from experience how much you have to get it done at the drop of the flag.
And you want to talk about desperation. 27 started, only 18 cars were finishing. This was a high attrition race, and it had a big effect on the points.
Do you remember that Hinch mentioned this in the pre-race show in IndyCar Live about Alex Palou's 48-point advantage now being trimmed to 37? But look how stacked up it is behind. This is going to be close. This is going to be frantic. And this doubleheader weekend is going to play a pivotal role in this 2024 NTT IndyCar Series Championship. And the big story is, can Palou get his 3rd, or could this guy on screen get his 1st? This man, Pato O'Ward, has the mojo and the momentum at the moment. He won last weekend in Mid-Ohio. He finished 2nd last night. He has won here before. Don't discount the young Mexican. I told you it was a warm and windy day. That shows you as well, as it's time to go trackside for the command.
Fans, here to say the most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome the Governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds.
Drivers, start your engines!
Starting up.
Command has been given.
You want want big energy, the governor just gave it to us. She's ready. She's excited to go for this second 250-lap race of the weekend. And let's show you how they're going to line up with the Hy-Vee starting grid. As it's been mentioned a couple of times already today, Scott McLaughlin broke the existing track record that was held by Helio Castro-Neves. Folks, it's less than a mile, and McLaughlin's second qualifying lap was 188 miles an hour. Extreme speed.
Well, let's talk to the guy who improved more positions yesterday than anybody in the field. We're talking about Joseph Newgarden there in the red number 2. He's won here 5 times. Let's see if we can ring him up. Hey, Joe New, it's Townsend up in the NBC booth. You got me?
Yeah, I got you. You sound great.
You sound even better, my friend, as a 5-time winner. Yesterday, you finished 3rd. But how was your car? I mean, you blew everybody away. They said you couldn't pass here, but you had an answer for that.
Well, it's tough. We're all working hard right now. I think yesterday was, certainly all of that on display. Everybody was trying to make something happen. And, I think for us on the 2-car, most of it's just down to great team, great strategy, incredible in the pits. That's where we made up 80–90% of the position. So if we can be the same today, I think we're going to be in good shape. We just need to be 2 spots higher. So a cool head and get to the front with this demo car.
Well, you had an amazing start. You feel like you're going to go high again if it's on offer?
I think you just have to be prepared for anything. I mean, I'll go there if it's available, but it's not always a given. So you just got to be ready for anything in this series, and you're just going to try and make what we can work to get to the front.
All right, brother. Have a great race. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks. Enjoy the show.
We call him the king of corn country. There he is. Joseph Newgarden. All right, time now for the Honda track preview. And let's hear the words of a 2-time winner, our very own James Hinchcliffe.
There's a reason that this is a favorite among drivers, guys. It is so fast and furious around this 7/8 of a mile oval. Sorry, you see the new paving that has happened in the corners there. That dark surface down in the bottom 2 lanes, the lighter, older pavement still on the top 2. 12 to 14 degree banking through these corners.
And the reason that pavement is so important is if you get pushed high mid-corner onto the old pavement to the high side, there is no grip up there, often just marbles or tire dust, and it's like driving on ice. We saw it yesterday.
Not far away from the start of this second leg of the doubleheader. Let's check in one more time with the folks on pit road. Kick it off, Dylan.
Well, Kyle Kirk was not optimistic about their chances yesterday, but a solid drive from 19th to 7th has them in better spirits today. They passed most of those other cars, didn't just gain spots in the pits. Their car got better as the track gained grip, so he's a little bit cautious about how the heat might affect that today, but they made it happen in race 1, and we'll go for their 7th straight top 10 in race 2 today, Georgia.
Connor Daly will sub in for Jack Harvey in the Dale Coyne Racing number 18, and this is going to be a huge feat for Connor Daly. He just strapped into the car for the first time this morning during some install laps. He's never touched the hybrid system. He hasn't turned any laps. It's going to be a physical race, so well wishes to Jack Harvey and good luck to Connor Daly. Kevin.
Scott McLaughlin told me last night, now I'm an IndyCar driver because I've won, and he said it's no coincidence that Simon Pagenaud helped him. He has been massive in his development.
Let's get ready to go. It is Scott McLaughlin and Alex Palou side by side on the front row. And Palou made an uncharacteristic, unforced error yesterday, and he said it was my fault for pushing too hard. Is he going to clean up things today? Has he got something for McLaughlin? Let's get ready to go. The Hy-Vee one-step 250 is away here in Iowa, and Dixon looks on the inside of his teammate, then pulls back.
Side by side, a little bit behind the top 10, it looks like. We see some of the Meyer-Shank cars side-by-side teammates off at 2, all single file. Then we see the McLaren teammates side-by-side into 3.
Looks like the Meyer-Shank drivers are too wide. It's Joseph Newgarden there in that red number 2 is stalking, looking for his opportunity. He'll go high once again into turn 1.
He just told you, T-Bell, you got to look at what's on offer. He saw something on offer and grabbed it.
High line was on the menu, and he said, I'll take 2. Joseph Newgarden using it. As I saw, was that a drop or 2 on the lens? Maybe some fluid coming off one of the cars in front. Either way, good progress early on for the number 2 of Joseph Newgarden. Some defensive driving there from Catherine Legg in the pink and black machine.
Here goes Ericsson on that high line. He loves racing here and raced well yesterday as he goes past his old teammate, or does he, as Marcus Armstrong holds down that inside line.
The drivers
still
know,
there, corner.
that the track is pristine clean at the start of this race to the high side. It won't always stay that way, but 4 laps in, they're taking full advantage and keeping this thing 2, maybe 3 grooves wide.
The more it runs up on the high line now, the more it's going to stay there. As Connor Daly's already made a couple moves as well, up a few spots to 24th.
Here goes Santino Ferrucci on Rinus VeeKay. These guys were racing hard at the end of the race yesterday. VeeKay doesn't want to relinquish it.
Ferrucci not leaving much room to the inside, and the slightest bit of contact could send Ferrucci to the wall. On board here, the NTT data camera, Nolan Siegel looking out the back as there's more racing with, is that the 66? Of David Malukas with Roman Grosjean. Malukas between 2 Juncos Hollinger teammates, Grosjean and Canapino.
Linus Lundqvist on the inside. Thought about it, then thought twice. And these 3 drivers that are grouped here together, the 2 Juncos Hollinger cars and Malukas, were the 3 that collided yesterday on the opening lap and were out of the race.
Now Nolan Siegel, the rookie here, is giving us pictures from NTT right now. He's doing a great job trying to capitalize. Into 3, had to back out of it. It's all about timing the passes here at Iowa. Everything comes down to timing. You can catch a car at the wrong part of the corner and you get absolutely nothing out of it. This young driver had a really strong race yesterday though, T-Bow.
And this is the weekend where hybrid power has been introduced. So thanks to Firestone telemetry, we can take a look at the hybrid status right down here on the lower left-hand corner, and you notice it perfectly mirrors the hybrid status, the lifesaver for Nolan Siegel. It recharges off throttle, it regens, and then he's able to deploy on his request, pushing a button or pulling a trigger on the back of the wheel. It's driver preference for how that's set up, but the hybrid delivering 60 extra horsepower when it's deployed on the straightaway. It glows red, you see, when he's on the button.
Biggest movers of this race in the early stages. Romain Grosjean up 5. Newgarden up 4 and Santino Ferrucci up 4, but it is Scotty Mack, Scott McLaughlin in the XPEL Chevy that's leading the way, not quite by a full second, over Alex Palou, and then Scott Dixon, the 2 Chip Ganassi teammates, back to Colton Herta, who was headed for his potentially first win on an oval last night. He led a monster amount in the early going. He led some 86 laps before McLaughlin took over, but keep an eye on this Gamebridge Honda Hench. I think he's got something today.
He very well could. We saw great pace out of this car, even in that middle stint when the tires started to have a vibration, something, and the balance maybe a bit off, wore the tire funny. He got a big vibration, forced him to pit a little bit early, and just got caught out in pit lane. The yellow coming out while he was there, got trapped a lap down, but a lot of pace early in the race for this car.
The vibration was so violent yesterday, deep in the tire stint for Colton Herta, you could barely make out what he was saying on the radio. That's how violently his body was shaking. And then this diff, a massive save in turn 3. You were the first to see it.
It was the save of the night. It was a crash that didn't happen. How about that? He might rival Pato O'Ward for Mr. Quick Hands. We've seen it at the Indy Road Course. Now he's shown us at the Iowa Speedway how fast he can react and just sublime car control.
The team asked him what happened. He said, I got a little loose in turn 3. That's more than a little.
No kidding. I don't think I've ever seen an Indy car that sideways on an oval and still end up the right way around without a full 360. So mad credit to Colton for keeping that thing going straight. And he was trying to argue what position he was in when the yellow came out. He didn't even phase him.
We're a pretty greedy bunch, racing drivers.
Yes.
Just got away with perhaps the luckiest save of his career, and immediately he wants more for track position.
This is a much more fluid rhythm today as opposed to last night. Good racing rhythm early on here in the Heartland. You're watching NBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hy-Vee. This racing season, you can help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com. Liberty Mutual Insurance, only pay for what you need. And by NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. Racing here in Iowa at Iowa Speedway. It is the fastest short track on the planet, as they like to say. And look at here, what we got going on here. Movement already as Colton Herta and Felix Rosenqvist are nice and close together, fighting over 4th spot. The Andretti Honda and the Meyer Shank Racing Honda.
These two guys running where they qualified fourth for Colton Herta, fifth for Felix Rosenqvist. It was a great lap, that second lap of qualifying for Rosie, and he has a pretty strong race car. To be running that close to the back of the 26 tells me that he's happy with the balance.
And those two teams, Meyer-Shank and Andretti, effectively share setup information, so it's entirely possible that they're on the exact same setup, Georgia, as Rosenqvist continues to inch closer to the gearbox of Colton Herta.
And Townsend, Felix Rosenqvist, he started in fifth. He currently rides in that fifth position, but his strategist, Adam Ravizini, said he feels like both MSR cars are finally hitting their stride. And aside from David's accident yesterday, he said that Felix realistically has only had 3 races this season where something out of their control hasn't stunted a result. And the strategy today and yesterday to be aggressively smart.
Felix's best result here at Iowa Speedway was in this very race a year ago, the second part of the doubleheader, as he proudly displays the Outsiders radio. Eric Church on Sirius XM Honda, and Eric put on quite the performance last night.
Can we talk about the drops that are appearing on the camera?
Yeah.
We just had the camera cleared. We saw more drops now accumulate. Is that some sort of fluid maybe coming off of Colton Herta's car?
Might be coming out of the thirsty
Colton
three.
in front of you is having the same issue as yesterday, so let's keep the pressure on. Good job of the fuel.
That's the other thing. These drivers driving to a fuel number. This race turned from a 4-stopper the last few years into just a 2-stopper. Such was the longevity of these Firestone tires. This race was always dictated, T-Bell, by who could make the Firestones last the longest without losing too much lap time. You'd often, if not always, pit before you ran out of fuel.
Think about what happened yesterday. A traditional 4-stop IndyCar race turned into a 2-stopper with the same race distance. That's how different the tires are. Kevin.
Let's talk about Scott McLaughlin, who felt like his car was even going to be better. Not great news for the field in the sunshine, but they were going a little bit loose later in the stint last night, and Kyle Moyer, his strategist, just told him, stay on top of your tools. That's why it got away from us. So what can he do? What is the game plan to try to make sure that the car doesn't go away?
Well, you've got to stay on the controls and you've got to anticipate. We talk about it all the time. Oval racing in IndyCar, if you're adjusting based on what you just feel and you're reacting to it, you usually fall behind the tire degradation. The key is to anticipate which way the balance is going to go before it goes there and get ahead with that controls. That's what the spotters, the strategists will remind the driver. Anytime you hear stay ahead of your adjustments, that's what they mean. Don't let the front or back end of the race car get out of shape and then adjust around it. It's almost impossible as a rookie. That's the difference with a guy like McLaughlin. He's learned those techniques.
And Rosenqvist getting really close to the back of Colton Herta in the middle of the corner. Had a nice little run off of 2 there. But on one hand, you know, he's trying to take care of those Firestones. He's also trying to save as much fuel as he can. It's a bit of a balancing act for these drivers. And to your point, Townsend, that's why you often hear the spotters say things like, don't forget your tools. Just a gentle reminder to the drivers, hey, feel out what the balance is and try to stay ahead of where it's going to be.
And in his first year for Meyer-Shank Racing, it got off to a spectacular start for the Swedish driver. Felix was on pole, he was on the front row, he was on the second row, and Townsend, he strung together a string of top 10 results. But then in the middle portion of where we've been so far, it drifted away. He needs a top 10 and he needs it today.
Yeah, it looks like he's on for it. It's early, but I see calm, patient hands behind the wheel. He's not trying to force anything. He's just going to ride, study, and when he gets his opportunity, he'll be ready to pounce.
Nice and calm. Keeping it not cruisy because they are flying, but it's fairly steady at the moment, almost 40 laps in. We've been telling you about this all year long. You have a chance with thanks to Hy-Vee to drive away with a new Chevy Corvette. Grab your mobile device, scan that QR code that you see on your screen. There have been 3 up for grabs, however 2 have been given away already, so there's just 1 left and it could be yours with thanks to Hy-Vee. Scan that code and good luck. Welcome you back to the Hy-Vee One Step 250 presented by Gatorade here at Iowa Speedway. We're about 35-40 minutes east of downtown Des Moines, and this is Team Penske's Scott McLaughlin, who dominated last night. He's led every lap so far, which has been 48 of them. He leads the 2-time and reigning series champion Alex Palou. When will we start to see some pit stops? Well, with thanks to NTT. Let's have a look, boys. What's the predictor say?
Yeah, that 85 to 89. If you think about lap 85, an 85-lap stint, you multiply that times 2 for your second stint, that gets you to 170, and then 255 to home. So that makes it that two-stopper we've talked about. Massive change from what Iowa historically is, which is a tire-determined pit stop. Today, a fuel-determined pit stop. So all these drivers right now know that every drop they can save of fuel on this stint is a shorter pit stop. It's less time for their fueler to plug in on pit lane. Pit stops are going to make the difference today, James.
But also what's important as we ride along with Will Power with the Verizon onboard is to remember the overcut can be quite powerful because there is almost no tire degradation. The tires aren't really falling off. You're not losing lap time. So the overcut is when you save enough fuel that you can go a lap or two longer than the competition, stay out on that hot track, and while you're coming up to speed from the car out of the pits, you can go ahead.
And the undercut, of course, really doesn't work well today because you need clear racetrack to make the undercut work. Clean air, you're not going to find it with all 27 cars evenly spread, as we see Will Power not using the hybrid right now. He has 97 now, 100% charge, but on that lower left-hand corner, if you see the lifesaver here, now he's on it a little bit, right there.
But what I like about that's one of the cool things about this Firestone telemetry showing you the hybrid status, is we can see how he can actually use the hybrid system to help with the fuel save, because that little bit of energy coming out of the electric part of this power unit is getting that acceleration, getting a little bit of speed without obviously burning any fuel. So these hybrid units in a situation like this can actually help increase the fuel mileage.
We haven't had a caution yet, so we haven't had a chance to have a restart. Last night on one of the multiple restarts, this is what happened to Will Power and Pietro Fittipaldi. Look up ahead, Fittipaldi ahead, you ride with Power, and listen. Boom. That took Fittipaldi out of the race. Ed Carpenter smashed into the wall behind it, and it sent Power to the pits.
Will Power perfectly timed his throttle application to the green light, except for the fact there was a car right in front of him that didn't have things perfectly timed. That's how desperate drivers are to make a move on a restart. So hard to pass under green flag conditions today. Dylan.
Scott Dixon running in the third spot. And we saw those fuel numbers, and that's kind of right on target with what the Dixon team thinks as well. Part of that is because Scott McLaughlin has backed the pace up. The 9 team thinks so he doesn't get into lap traffic. So that has kind of slowed everybody down, has allowed these cars behind McLaughlin to go into even more fuel save mode. That's what Dixon has done here. Car's a little bit neutral for him right now, but don't be surprised if they do the overcut. They were talking about that as kind of their game plan for last night. Wanted to do it on the first stop yesterday before a caution came out. So don't be surprised to see Dixon run long here. Fairly happy with the race car.
What a juxtaposition on last night. Last night was crazy town. Today's steady Eddie. It's rather formulaic so far.
Just wait. Just wait. All it takes is one caution and things are likely to go haywire. As we see the PNC nose cam here for Scott Dixon.
When we talk about saving fuel, we all know there's nobody better at it in IndyCar than this man right here, be it road courses, street courses, or ovals. So if this turns into a situation where fuel saving helps, overcuts the move, that could really play into Dixon's hand. But it's interesting, guys, to hear about McLaughlin trying to back up the pace so he doesn't catch that lap traffic.
And what I think that allows McLaughlin to do is to gas it up right before he stops and try to open up a gap to protect during the green flag stops. Let's talk about Pato Award. Kevin, what do you know?
Coming off a runner-up and running solid, looking for some opportunities today. So you see those hybrid lights that we see on his dash as a part of the aero screen. There's a story behind that. One of the interesting young engineers on the program in the back of the tent, Lindsay Falk is back there. She is a junior engineer, just graduated from Notre Dame. She was on the rowing team, by the way. And along with Kenny Krajnik, they're both hybrid support engineers, and they simply just kind of ran out of space on the dash for all of the data that they needed. So they came up with the idea of, well, let's just move something and use the space available on the bottom of the aero screen. Really, really cool stuff.
And in the foreground, Kate Gunlock, who has been on the engineering stand both at Chip Ganassi Racing and Arrow McLaren for many years. Some of the key people behind the scenes. You're watching NBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hy-Vee. This racing season, help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com, and by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need. And boy, what you need is to see some of the concerts that have been here and are coming. And if you haven't been, put this on your list to visit next year, because Hy-Vee has extended their deal with Iowa Speedway and with IndyCar to continue this Hy-Vee doubleheader weekend. Yesterday we saw award-nominated artists Luke Combs, and last night Eric Church. Today it's Kelsey Ballerini and Post Malone.
And think about who we've seen the last couple years, like Tim McGraw and Blake Shelton. It's like they sit around every winter and say, who are the absolute biggest names in the world that we can bring to Newton, Iowa? And they do it. They never disappoint here. It's amazing.
Ed Sheeran last year to finish things off as we get our teeth into this 250-lap Hy-Vee one-step 250 presented by Gatorade, and it's steady as she goes. Not a whole lot of passing in this maybe last, say, 50 laps. Grosjean's made up the most positions with 5 over Newgarden and Ferrucci with 4, and then Kirkwood and Powell with 3. But get ready, pit stops are looming, and that's where the pressure. Remember the 3 Ps at the top of the show that James and Townsend told you about? Palou needed to rebound from last night. Pit stops, you got to execute them, and the pressure, knowing that you can get so much ground, like Joseph Newgarden said, on those all-important pit stops here.
And there's so much that goes into a green flag pit stop. We talk about the crew members on pit lane, the precision and the performance required to fit 4 wheels and tires and fill the car with split-second accuracy, but also for the drivers, entering and exiting on the apron on an oval is super tricky. It's bumpy, there's no banking to help you, and you can make a big mistake quite easily.
So let's take a look back at something that just happened to the number 5 of Pato O'Ward. He's one-handing it down the front straightaway, cracks the visor, wipes some sweat off his brow, and then back down. That is at 180 plus miles an hour.
Couldn't do that in the old days. Let's take a look at Graham Rahal.
Listen to some radio.
How's the car? Really good. Cool.
Don't hear that very often.
No, you don't. But also, you're cruising around at the same pace as everyone else. You're not pushing 10/10ths. Everybody's car feels good when you're driving under the limit. It's when these guys start turning it up right before these pit stops, which is going to be coming pretty soon here. Lap 80. You just listen to Rahal's throttle application. This OneCure onboard giving us those sights and sounds. And it looks fine, but again, we're not pushing yet.
Not pushing yet. You can tell just how relaxed the grip is. The difference to where you're qualifying, and oftentimes you'll see that firm death grip on the wheel. It looks nice and calm for the hands of Graham Rahal. Georgia, Augie Canapino circulating right now. What can you tell us?
Well, you talk about the pictures on pit lane, but what about what they have to do back in the garages? Augustine Canapino yesterday, unfortunately, involved in that incident on the first lap, but the crew told me they were there until 2:45 in the morning, and then had a crew call again at 6 in the morning, and it was quite a drive to the hotel. So little sleep for that crew. Almost everything was broken on that car. They cracked the motor in several places, broke the bell housing. Every corner had damage, and the tubs seemed to be all right, but they did switch chassis just for precaution. So this team went to work yesterday, and they're back on pit lane in 13th right now.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the men and women of all of the teams in the NTT IndyCar Series, because I was here with my 2 sons last night late watching Eric Church, and as we were enjoying that music, the team members were working flat out in the garage area here. It was lights, camera, action, Kev. Looked like a movie set until late into the evening last night.
It was cool. You can see why the grandstand was packed. There were so many people on the front stretch as well. Eric Church is an entertainer. All right, let's talk about some strategy and what the number 3 team for Scott McLaughlin is talking about.
Okay, we're on about a Larry 35 here. Vibration creeping a little bit, not bad. Yeah, copy. We see it. It's on all 4. This is a left rear, but that's probably because of the situation.
And there is a feeling that there will be in the daytime more tire degradation, so the end of these stints are going to be challenging. That's when the race is probably going to be decided. And I'm also hearing McLaughlin might even be able to get almost to a lap 100. Somewhere between 95 and 97, I've heard he and Alex Palou were talking about not making their first pit stop until then.
Well, just kind of going back to what T-Bell was saying, as we do see Connor Daly in the pits, subbing for the injured Jack Harvey. Got put in a special session this morning to get a few laps. That's required by IndyCar. Oh,
Air gun failure. They go to the backup gun on the right front.
No, he grabbed the same gun again, Town, so they're obviously not happy with...
Oh, there it is. It wasn't tight. He threw it and then needed it back.
Just that muscle memory. As soon as he took his hands, or he took the gun off the wheel, threw it out of habit, didn't, you know, before realizing that the nut wasn't fully tight, but very heads up from the outside front to make sure that they got the gun back, stopped the car, didn't send it. Connor Daly, big delay in pit lane. That's going to hurt.
I'm blown away by the difference in how this track's racing this year. If you think back to last year, we'd get to 50 laps and drivers would be on the radio begging to come in, desperate for new tires. Firestone has brought a tire that is lasting way longer than any of us expected. If Scotty Mack can go 100 laps, that's wild.
How about the story of McLaughlin? Remember at the beginning of the season, he and his teammate Joseph Newgarden were disqualified for that push to pass infraction. Will Power was docked points. You know where this guy was leaving St. Pete when we got to Long Beach? Last. Dead last in the championship. Scotty Mack and the Thirsty Threes run second in points as we run. Race leader here in Iowa, and last night's winner, Scott McLaughlin, is the first of the front runners to pit. Here comes the XPEL Chevy. There were a couple further back that pitted earlier, but Kevy, he's coming your way.
So Scott McLaughlin gets to lap 94 complete. They're going a little bit loose later on in the stint, so they will try to make a slight adjustment to help that, as we've talked about, messing with his tools to try to stay in front of it, Georgia.
Felix Rosenquist among one of those who pitted as well. He asked about the balance of the car, and he said it felt really good right now. They put sticker blacks and filled it up with Shell fuel, and he was away. Dylan?
Scott Dixon is getting ready to come in. We talked about them trying to do the overcut. They went a lap longer. Dixon said the car was neutral, but he was maxed out on his tools there, looking to make an adjustment just to try to get Dixon a little bit better.
I'm intrigued to see the Palou pit stop because there was a hiccup at Mid-Ohio and there was a hiccup last night in Alex exiting. This is Linus Lundqvist, his teammate pitting. Here they come. There's lots of takers now. Palou leads. He's trying to do the overcut, staying out longer, just like Pato O'Ward did, Kev.
Pato O'Ward goes a lap longer, so let's see if there's any advantage there. It's going to be these green flag pit stops that are likely going to decide things. It's so critical to not make any kind of a bobble around the bend. If you're up at the front, you can't even see the car, still waiting to find Pato O'Ward. He's installed number 2. Alex Palou is going to come in the next lap. O'Ward is in. He gets 4 fresh Firestones, Shell fuel, and we'll see where he comes out on track. Palou coming in next. O'Ward is released.
Palou impressive. Oh. See a spin.
It's Canapino.
They stay green. This is important. Palou now on pit lane. Track is still green. Palou is in.
Palou's he's got a lap almost on the entire field. Only Power on the lead lap because of that. If it went yellow now, he would get a free pit stop. How we're leaving it. There you go, guys. The yellow flag is out. Nice clean in for the 10. Nice clean out, Kev.
And he makes it to lap 100, so if there was any fuel saving, he's not going to have to mess with that at all for a little bit. A little bit slow in getting the fuel hose attached, but the issue has been getting it back in gear. Yesterday went straight to second. He said, my mistake. I pumped it twice. This time, no problem for Palou.
Well, he gets to the blend line under yellow. That'll determine the running order. The question is, where's Scotty Mack?
And Will Power was left out there. Will Power had not pitted by the time this yellow came out.
Yeah, but he's a lap up to the field, except Palou on timing and scoring right now.
But you got to stay with the lead with the pace car.
He's got to wait until the pits open. It takes a lap or two, so you hear that call to Will Power. You got to stay pace car speed, but you have to save fuel. This worked out in Palou's favor big time. Power going to have to pit under yellow. He's going to fall to the back. McLaughlin and Co. will all get the wave around, but essentially it was a free pit stop for the 10.
On acceleration out of the pits. Canapino, unforced error.
We talk about how difficult it is on the apron on any oval, but especially here it's bumpy and low grip as you see Marcus Ericsson's on board just going around the spun car of Canapino.
And we talk about how important these cycles are and the time and the pressure on the crews in pit lane. Such a big part of it is that in and out lap, using the decel lane, the XL lane, it's all part of it.
Went the longest time without a caution. We're in one now.
Back at Iowa, Will Power, the lone wolf on pit road, did not pit before that caution for Augustine Canapino came out. Routine service for Power, who has been kind of buried at the back of the field due to a poor qualifying effort. So we'll see how this all kind of cycles out for him.
Yeah, he hit the wall on his second lap of qualifying. In the 2-lap qualifying format, the first lap dictated your starting position for last night's race. The second lap dictated where you'd start for today, and Will grazed the wall exiting turn 2, and that's what Dylan was referring to, that left him down the back of the pack. Now, he came in with a lap on the field. Talking of stops, have a look at this for the DHL Honda of Alex Palou on his way in. Whoa. This will be interesting to see from Alexander Rossi's on board.
Spotters are key in this situation. Rossi spotter will say one outside pitting, but I don't know if he saw that coming.
Yikes.
That was close. The spotters don't always know exactly when the competitors are coming in. Oftentimes they'll raise their hand on the roof, but there's no guarantee with as busy as things get that Rossi spotter would have been able to predict that. Watching the Mission Foods onboard right now of Alexander Rossi, that hybrid state of charge, fully powered, ready to deploy on the restart if he chooses, as they come up on the safety team. And now the lap down cars are getting the wave by, so the pace car is going to pick up Alex Palou, and Will Power will restart second.
So the two guys who did the overcut, it worked out. Staying out longer worked for them. The Hy-Vee One Step 250 presented by Gatorade went for 101 laps, caution free. Now we're going to see things mix up a little bit. It was due to a spin by this man here, Argentina's Augustine Canapino in the Juncos Hollinger Chevy. He was just on acceleration out of the pits and spun by himself and needed some rescuing to get going again. Alex Palou on the redemption trail. He made an unforced error last night as well on acceleration out of turn 4 down the main straight and spun. And he said, I blame myself. I didn't need to be pushing that hard. He, like Scott McLaughlin last night, is in search of his first oval victory. This guy here on screen, Will Power, it took years for him to feel comfortable on an oval. He hated racing on an oval. And then he did a total 180 and said, I actually enjoy racing ovals more than I do road and street courses.
Wow, he's really enjoying it today because by virtue of that yellow, listen, on a short oval track, the lap time 19 seconds, you want to pit under yellow. You don't want to have to pit under green. That's why you stay out for so long. Will Power hung out, stayed out. He's up 20 positions from his starting spot. Things are looking good. Dylan.
Real quick, some Scott Dixon radio. He wanted to go longer on that first one.
How we pitted so early then? Oh, we could have done a couple more laps, right?
We could not. Maybe one, Scott, but by stopping, having to pit off turn 3, we didn't want to take that chance.
Dixon, as Dixon does, reading the race from inside the cockpit. Let's go racing.
Go, green, green,
Palou's going to see that green flag here at Iowa Speedway. Let's see how this works out with the first restart of the day.
Watch the yellow and white car of Scotty Mack. There are some lap cars between him and the leaders as McLaughlin looking to pass along with Colton Herta to the high side.
Here comes Dixon on his teammate. Couldn't quite get it done on Kiffin Simpson. Around the outside of Stingray Rob goes Scotty Mack.
Scott definitely taking advantage of the fact that the high line was swept during that yellow, but he's only got a couple good laps to use it as you get up to speed before it starts getting dirty. His teammate Joseph Newgarden with the Estemo on board doing the same thing.
Oh, but Grosjean's coming back. Grosjean saw an opportunity to find clean air and stay low, and Newgarden squeezing that air from Grosjean as Ferrucci looks high.
Watch that black and red Sexton Properties machine. Ferrucci mixed it up last night. He's in the mix again. David Malukas just ahead and Catherine Legg.
With the way that sequence played out as we see Legg side by side still, gonna have to give that position to Malukas heading into 3 as Ferrucci goes on the outside of Daly and tries to get Legg at the same time.
Here he comes. Nobody more exciting to watch yesterday on the restarts than Ferrucci, but boy, he left very little margin between his car and others as there's a slow 78 at Canapino.
Rinus VeeKay trying to work his way through. Had his best result of the season last night. Drove brilliantly for a top 5.
Connor Daly making moves in the race here into turn 3 on Catherine Legg there. Again, only a handful of laps this morning. All these turns so far this weekend, but out front still all Palou and Power. And McLaughlin getting closer and closer to to catching up to those top two, getting around those lap cars. The timing of that yellow just trapped some lap down cars in between positions here up in the top 5. Very confusing how it all played out. But you see the pylon, how they're running position-wise, not exactly how they're running on track. Right now, only 17 cars on the lead lap as Lundgaard actually goes around Will Power, trying to unlap himself. Now he's got
one more car. If he can get around Palou, who's up in front, Lundgaard will be back on the lead lap in the Hy-Vee car. He gets a little squirrely off turn 4. And speaking of squirrely, we saw Alex Palou get pretty sideways as Ferrucci slingshots his way around Felix Rosenqvist.
That's how you get it done.
Single-handedly keeping the highlight in play is Santino Ferrucci.
If you leave it for a few laps, it gets too dirty. So neat cars running too wide as Christian Lundgaard is hungry to deliver for Hy-Vee at their home race.
There are hundreds and hundreds of Hy-Vee guests and partners and employees here wanting to see this car do well. Well, he's about to pass the leader of the race to unlap himself. Meanwhile, Grosjean and Newgarden, and this battle between the two Chevrolet-powered drivers is not going away.
Oh,
and around the outside. Well, Ferrucci's just done a Newgarden to Newgarden.
Wow. Contact here between Romain Grosjean and Joseph Newgarden. That's the squeeze that we saw earlier in turns 3 and 4. And Joe New running Grosjean tight to quite tight.
Now car back, working. Inside, inside, inside. Still there.
You see that little wiggle on the steering wheel. And it was not all done there. That maybe lost him a bit of momentum, which opened the door for Ferrucci for this move off of 4.
This is not royal treatment for the king of corn country. They don't care. They're attacking the 6-time winner. Ferrucci usually on the outside. He goes the inside this time to get Grosjean. He went from the top 10 to get penalized and then a double penalty that dropped him a lap down to 22nd last night. He came back to finish 6th. And the driver from Dallas, Texas is on the move.
He's going to do it again right here. Looks high, then fakes low.
Outside.
Doesn't fake, he went low, stays low on Kirkwood.
Very close behind Graham Rahal mid-corner. That took some front end away from him. Now he's going to fire it into 3, side by side. These two working it. Ferrucci up 7 spots since the restart.
But Kirkwood has the draft as he comes off the corner. Graham Rahal's car helps break the air and Kirkwood able to suck up. I think there was contact there. I think I saw smoke off the right rear of Ferrucci.
Kyle Kirkwood digging hard on the outside. He's got a brief moment of clear air there. Ferrucci gonna have to fall back in line. That was great driving. Now Kirkwood attacking Rahal.
Wow, look out. Inside. This is in the deep in the 10, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Oh yeah, Ben, nice job. Goodbye 2 to Graham.
Inside move, Ferrucci thought twice. Action has heated up here in Iowa. You're watching NBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. Hy-Vee, this racing season, you can help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com and by OneCure.com. Join us as we race to cure cancer in our best friends and ourselves. It's an 87-degree day here just east of Des Moines, Iowa, here at Iowa Speedway. And this is Spain's Alex Palou leading the way, the 2-time and reigning series champion. He crashed out last night, and just don't see Alex Palou do that very often. So he's on the road to redemption here today. Meanwhile, a little further back in the pack, deeper in the top 10, Santino Ferrucci is on the attack.
Yeah, but look at Graham Rahal looking left and swerving left to close the door on Santino Ferrucci.
I think his eyes may have been more forward, trying to make a move on Kirkwood.
I don't know. That looked quite in reaction to. Look at Alex Palou here on the restart.
Big
3, 2, 1's going to roll into the throttle and get sideways. Lay some blackies coming out of turn 4. And it was that loose condition that got him in big trouble on his own yesterday. Lee, you mentioned that rare mistake from Palou put him in the wall.
It's so easy with the way these cars are set up, all asymmetrically, just to turn left. When you smash the throttle and you're not in a straight line, so easy to hook. We've seen a lot of drivers spin out in that sort of condition, and both the top two had a little wiggle. Christian Lundgaard's removed himself from this conversation by getting around the 10. He's unlapped himself, caught up to the tail end of the lead lap, and then just behind Will Power in that blue machine, that's Marcus Ericsson, third on in line, but he is 2 laps down. He's in 25th position after a wheel gun failure on that pit stop, cost him plenty of time and 2 laps on the road. Unfortunate, because you can see the Delaware Life car very competitive.
Plenty of speed, hasn't it?
I mean, he's running up that high line, trying to work on Will Power.
I like that, getting clean air on the entry to the corner in turn 1 and then crossing over. And that's kind of the danger zone of dirty air, is when you start high and then you go into the wake behind the lead car, you can lose a lot of downforce and things can get squirrely. Right here, as he tries to cross back over, it can get loose. And Ericsson's had some big moments this weekend.
Keep the run going.
Including a big crash in practice.
Crash in practice, big saves in qualifying. A massive save last night in the race into turn 3, same place. But Georgia, what's happening with King of Corn Country here, Joseph Newgarden?
James, I was just going to say, the King of Corn Country, Joseph Newgarden, he rides at that 12th position. Let's hear what the team's telling him.
They're on deploy. Rookie pass on the outside and the inside. They were making the outside groove work. Middle of 3, off of 4. Fuel lines up to you.
So they're relaying that message, but is anyone else brave enough to try to pass on the high side?
Well, we will see, because we're into the second half of this Hy-Vee one-step 250. 103 laps left to go. You're watching NBC's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Hy-Vee. This racing season, you can help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting Hy-Vee.com. And by Luther Automotive, driven to serve. And we're going to serve you up another 94 laps here at Iowa Speedway. Welcome back, Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, James Hinchcliffe. And this is the second leg of a doubleheader weekend, the Hy-Vee doubleheader weekend. And you've got the reigning series champion, Alex Palou, leading the way in his DHL Honda. What a way to make amends and make up for last night's crash. Last night was his 74th career start. It was only his 7th DNF. That shows you how good this guy is, and he's racked up so many wins, 2 championships, almost won the Indianapolis 500. This guy, it's almost like he was born to race an IndyCar. Never dreamt of that growing up in Barcelona, Spain, but he has found his natural home here.
No, he absolutely has. He took to the IndyCar series incredibly quickly, coming in as a rookie, driving for Dale Coyne Racing. Chip Ganassi saw the potential in this driver, swooped him up, and he rewarded Chip and co for the faith they had in him with a championship his first year, backed it up again in his 3rd year, comfortably leading the title race right now. If he were to win, he would leave here 53 points ahead of Will Power in the championship.
And right now, Alex Palou is doing exactly what McLaughlin did earlier when he led on the opening stint, only going fast enough to keep Will Power behind, but not so fast that he gets into the back of lap traffic, trying to leave that buffer of clean air and give himself the flexibility to maybe accelerate, open up a gap before the pit stop.
You talk about McLaughlin and what he did. Well, counting last night's race and the early portion of today, McLaughlin led 259 consecutive laps. That's more than a race.
Look, we talk about points. This guy right here, when he was leading and Palou was in second, that was going to see him jump from 5th in points up to 2nd place when he was leading and Palou was second. Right now, he's running 3rd. It's not like he fell out of the top 10,
right,
all the way back to 5th. It just shows you how important winning is in this championship.
Well, and you talk about winning, James. For Scott McLaughlin, he just had his first oval IndyCar win yesterday. He had never raced on ovals before coming to the U.S. a few years ago after such a storied career, and winning makes you so hungry to do it again and to do it again immediately. So I know McLaughlin's thinking points, but I'll bet he's thinking win even more today. He would love nothing more than to back it up and go 2 for 2.
Last night, notched up career IndyCar win number 6 for the Team Penske pilot. He's chasing his teammate Will Power down. Let's climb aboard the Verizon Chevy.
You want to talk about smooth. Will Power, listen to how smooth he is on rolling into the throttle right here. That is like a violinist at world-class level in terms of his touch. It's such a great way to take care of the rear tires and not shock the tire on the throttle application. He is playing the instrument at a very high level today.
And the car looks like it's handling great. The hands very smooth. Just looks super in control right now, biding his time to this next round of pit stops.
You have got the top 5 in the championship in the top 6 positions in this race. The big guys, the big names fighting over this 2024 NTT IndyCar Series are right here at the front here in Iowa.
So lap 168, the leaders now in range to make it on one more stop. It'll be a game of who blinks first, but they won't want to pit early. You're going to hang out as long as possible to protect in case a yellow comes out.
Stingray Rob, third in line there. He pit just 10 laps to go. Fresh rubber, full fuel. He wants to try to clear these two the same way that Lundgaard did, the same way that Ericsson did, and try to get one of those laps back. Talk about those pit stops powered by NTT. The pit stop prediction here are the windows, guys. We're seeing at 198 to 202 for Palou. Power pit a couple laps later, but a few of those laps were under caution. Only buys him one extra lap under green. So you see that earlier window for McLaughlin, who came in on the earlier side. So a couple different windows, couple different options, and a lap could make a difference here on an overcut situation, T-Bell.
And when we get to those pit stops, and guys are racing and blending if they pit on different laps, that's when we might get back into more side-by-side moments and dip the racetrack much different than it was 70 laps ago when Ferrucci was making all those moves. Why? Because the spent rubber, the tire dust that comes off the tires starts to build on the high line, and it gets really ice skatey if you start to go 2 or even 3 wide in the closing stages.
We've been talking about racing during the heat of the day and the intense sunlight. Track is actually cooler by 2 degrees than what it was in the race last night. It was 121 degrees last night. It's 119 at the moment.
The ambient's about the same, but I can tell you from experience, guys, when you're sat in the race car and the sun is beating on the car, it makes a difference inside the cockpit. These drivers didn't have a week to recoup like you normally do. They had less than 24 hours.
So drivers in control at the front right now, plotting and thinking. Teams getting anxious on pit lane. They know that they cannot make a mistake like what Alex Palou had on the first round of stops. I don't know if it was a mistake so much, it's just an issue. The fueler getting stuck as he goes to pull out right there. That's 1/1000, 2/1000 seconds. That could put Alex Palou from 1st to 8th very easily today.
Didn't affect him on that round of stops because he had a lap on the field at the time, but that kind of delay
and the yellow.
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of delay is exactly what cost him the win last week at Mid-Ohio.
A little further down the order, in the top 10, it must feel good for Graham Rahal to be running inside the top 10. His best result this year, 9th at the Indy Grand Prix. Graham runs in exactly that position right now.
Really like what Alex Palou is doing right here. Keeping a nice big gap in front of him. So he's in total control. Without a lap car up ahead, Palou can lean into the pace, use up his tires right before he pits, and try to create a little bit of a buffer to Will Power and Scott McLaughlin.
Can you imagine, fellas, in 2 races we get 2 first-time oval winners? McLaughlin last night, and if Palou continues on this current trajectory.
First time oval pole sitter in Colin Herta yesterday. Yeah. First time oval winner in McLaughlin, and yeah, it would be incredible to see another one here today.
And with the top 4, once again, we've been saying this for so many years, it'll be Penske versus Ganassi on pit lane to decide this thing.
And it's going to break that, if Palou can do this, it's going to break that Penske stranglehold on this race. There's only twice in the last 10 that a team outside of Team Penske has won. Aaron McLaren and Schmidt-Peterson. Who was that, Hench? Huh?
I don't know. Don't remember. Seems like a long time ago.
That's our man, the man. Well, Alex Palou is trying to get that first oval win, as we mentioned, and there's been a nice spread of tracks that have been conquered by the Spaniard. Barber Motorsports Park, that career first. The Detroit Street Race, he's won a couple of times at Road America. He's won at Mid-Ohio. Laguna Seca most recently. Portland, that's where he was on track for his first championship win. That was pivotal in his first championship win. And he's won twice at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course.
But it's been 15 years since his team owner, Chip Ganassi, won here at Iowa. Dario Franchitti and Dan Weldon got it done in 07 and 08. Excuse me, 08 and 09 for Weldon and Franchitti. So the big boss, Chip Ganassi, would love to get on the scoreboard in this decade.
All right, tell you what, Palou is starting to feel maybe a little more pressure from Will Power. Here is the Verizon Chevrolet. He's made up 20 positions from his starting spot. He did the overcut, stayed out longer, and benefited actually from that caution falling when it did. Had a lap lead on the field, was able to come in when the pits were finally open, and then come back out and slotted into second position.
Yeah, we've come back to Scott McLaughlin, who's quietly and patiently studying the top two drivers, and I'm sure thinking about his green flag in lap. If this thing stays green, how can he make up ground as he comes to pit lane?
Scott Dixon running fourth right now. He was fourth yesterday in what he called a bit of a messy race on track in the pits, a little bit of everything. But if he can leave here with 2 top 5s, that's some good points for the PNC Bank machine. And that's what it's about right now for Scott Dixon. Never a track that he's won at, but 2 strong results if he can pull it off.
Oh, something broke on the 60.
Oh, and issues with the number 60.
Broken right rear, it looks like, for Felix Rosenqvist. You can see the team loading up the right rear. And it's almost like the push rod broke back there.
Hey, I've never seen someone be able to just push down on the rear of the car and see the left front tire pop up in the air like that. That doesn't seem like a quick fix.
Maybe the rocker broke.
That was a shame because Felix was having a really solid run in that Outsiders Sirius XM radio. The Eric Church machine. Here's the Hy-Vee Honda. Lundgaard got himself back on the lead lap and took off. He had good pace in this car today. He was just further back than where he wanted to be.
So a bit of a gamble here. They're going to make their final stop, try to find some clean air. But one thing's for sure, they're going to tell Christian Lundgaard, don't hold back. Give us everything you have for these last 61 laps to the end. Lundgaard trying to do it on pace and passing.
You never want to be in a position as a driver of having to claw back laps, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun knowing that you can just fight flat out from here on out.
Here's the man who led 86 laps last night, Gainbridge Honda driver Colton Herter. Today he started 4th. At the moment, he runs 5th. Been a pretty consistent day for the Californian. We'll see what he can do. And it's definitely a lot smoother than what last night went after he relinquished the lead. There were problems on track, problems in the pits. We'll see.
And we fall back to the arrow on board of Pato O'Ward, one of the hottest drivers in the series right now, coming off a great win at Mid-Ohio, beating the great Alex Palou there. O'Ward has won here at Iowa back in 2022. He runs in the top 10 right now, 6th in fact.
Mission Food on board's giving us shots of Alex Rossi running back here in 7th. Started 6th yesterday, started 7th, finished 8th. So it's been a quiet and consistent runs here for Rossi as he has to deal with traffic coming out on track right in front of him. Happy with the car, just not quite the out-and-out pace they need to be fighting at the front after a mishap in qualifying.
Right behind Alexander Rossi. Oh, Rosenqvist is out. It's game over for Fro. And the Sirius XM Auto Nation Meyer Shank Honda.
Look, I know that he's disappointed to be out of this race, but a right rear failure that didn't result in a car in the wall, there's a silver lining here. That could have been a written off race car and a potentially injured driver. That's the sort of failure we saw out of Joseph Newgarden a few years back while leading this race. Set him into the wall pretty hard.
Take a look at Felix Rosenqvist here. He gets a little bit of a wiggle right there, and I think that's probably right when the part broke or whatever let go at the back of the race car.
Oh, you can hear it right there.
That's the floor.
That is scary.
Tire failure, tire failure.
Look at that thing.
Oh,
Left
my
front
God.
in the air. You have 3 tires on the fastest short oval in the world. That is scary. McLaughlin comes to pit lane. Kevin, he's coming to you.
Scott McLaughlin is the first of those running at the front to come in. So everyone wants to stay out as late as possible. Remember last night, Alex Palou was in the pit lane. I'm sorry, Colton Herta was in the pit lane when Palou crashed, and that took him off from an opportunity to win the race. So McLaughlin is in a little bit of jeopardy right now, hoping it stays green until everybody does their final stop.
But he got what he needed. 6 seconds was the stop. 6.0. That is awesome.
Georgia.
Well, Lee, now that my back is working, we are back, and it was a damper failure for the Meyer Shank Racing number 60 of Felix Rosenquist. He has exited that vehicle, maybe with hopes to get back out there, but they look like they will be done for the day.
Yeah, time's running out, just 51 laps to go. This is David Malukas in the sister car for Meyer Shank Racing. He crashed out on lap 1 last night, doing a lot better today and building his time and experience in this car with his new team. Here's Marcus Ericsson in the Delaware Life Honda. Serviced and sent for the final time.
Nice quick sub-second stop there for Ericsson. We take a look back in the Delaware Life shots as he tries to merge back onto traffic. Now Rossi coming in.
Just look at him hustling it.
And that's such a key part of it, Dick, but there's a lot of marbles down there by this time of the day. It's easy to lose it. You see Colton Herta ahead of him in pit lane. The number 9 of Scott Dixon is set up, ready to go. Kev, it's all action on pit lane right now.
So we still haven't seen Palou yet. Power also was the last to stop, so we can go longer there. You see the Gamebridge Honda. Colton Herta is in, making his final stop, hoping again it stays green. That's what caught him last night. Dylan.
Scott Dixon is in as well. Pits from 4th. Has been really, really happy with his race car all day long. No changes. Dixon's down and away.
And this is that kind of danger zone area as we see Pato O'Ward and the 5 come in. Anybody that's still on track has an advantage for sure if a yellow were to come out. And during all these blends, that is sometimes when it can happen as the leader's in.
Below at the top of your screen, race leader is in. Power has stayed out again.
When he comes in, we'll be watching the track to see if those that pitted early found any advantage.
Dylan.
See Kyle Kirkwood, he's been inside the top 10. Also happy with his race car. 4 tires and fuel. Here's Palou, Kevin.
And he's going to have the easy out because he's all the way at the end of pit lane. So let's keep an eye on this stop. Last time it was the fuel probe. A little bit stuck again there. Maybe it cost him half a second. Dylan.
Will Power in at the top of your screen. He ran long on this stint once again. This pit crew won the pit stop competition on Friday. Need another perfect stop here. Will Power down and away. 4 tires and fuel and a good stop.
Guys, 5.8 seconds for Will Power, 6.1 for Newgarden, 6.0 for Scott McLaughlin. Team Penske dominating. Where does Palou come out?
It's all about the blend on the apron right now. There's Will Power at speed on track. There is Palou. It's going to be the Power right now, but the momentum is with Palou.
Can you imagine if Power can pull off this most improbable win? Look at this. Here comes Alex Palou.
Protect the bottom. All clear.
Protect the bottom is the call, and Will does that.
Palou had a 6.3 second stop. Power's got to defend right here, and then he might have it. Up to speed now is the number 12 Verizon car. 0.3 of a second, the difference. Actually, half a second. 5.8 seconds was Will Power in the box, and Will Power overall with the in-lap. Time on pit lane, time in the box, almost a second was the advantage, powered by NTT. That's the difference.
That's the advantage right there. They're running around about a second, give or take, on the racetrack. That is what he gained through that cycle.
Can you believe if this comes to fruition? Power started 22nd and stayed out, played the long game on that first caution, did the overcut, got himself leapfrogged his way to second, and he has never won here at Iowa Speedway. The two-time series champion has the Verizon Chevy at the front.
This has got shades of Simon Pagenaud winning from all the way back in 23rd position some years ago, and he was teammates with Will Power. To pull off that kind of upset, especially when we've been talking about how hard it is to pass here in comparison to back then.
But this is a little different now, guys. The first two stints were riding, saving some fuel, running long. We have less than 40 laps to go, and now Will Power has a whole nother challenge. He needs to carve his way through lap traffic. He can't just hang out, or else Pallot's going to attack.
39 laps to go. Hang on, this could be anybody's. Team Penske's veteran driver Will Power, two-time series champion, Indy 500 winner, is leading this Hy-Vee one-step 250 presented by Gatorade. Do you remember at Road America just a short while ago? He ended nearly a 2-year drought. To see Will Power go winless for the first time in 16 years was just bizarre. And now he could win twice in a very short span of time.
And it's looking certainly very good for him. That said, there is still lap traffic in front. And as Townsend mentioned before the break, you can't just control that gap and ride around. You have to push. The cars behind you don't have to save fuel. They're going for it. That's Nolan Siegel in the orange and blue machine right in front. Siegel right now running in 16th, last car on the lead lap.
And at this point in the race, the view out the aero screen for Will Power is just as important as the view out his rear view mirror as he gauges how good is the balance for Alex Palou. How much is he struggling behind me? How much can I move my car just a few inches left to right on the racetrack to try to disturb the air for Palou, make his life more difficult, make him use up his tires. It's a game of balancing how hard to push, how much to defend, how much risk do I need to take. Speaking of risk, Will Power is a much more calm driver than he was 10 years ago, as he has to stretch his hand out after 2 days of consecutive racing in Iowa. Those are moves I've never seen before.
That's a whole nother tactic. I mean, I actually saw him doing it on the way out as well, but I couldn't figure. I thought he was mad at something maybe, but now I understand what it was. But you got to remember, guys, these drivers are dehydrated. It's hotter than ever. You're reusing those same muscles over and over and over, essentially 1,000 times over the course of these 2 days.
His hand's going numb. That's what's going on.
Numb. It pinches nerves. All sorts of things can happen.
Is it something that drummers do?
I don't think that's a drumming. I don't think it's a drumming trick.
I think actually picked that up from Flavor Flav.
Yeah, exactly.
A few weeks ago.
If you don't know what Townsend's referring to, Flavor Flav is the world's biggest Will Power fan, and vice versa. It's a mutual admiration society as Scott Dixon in the PNC Bank Honda surges on in fourth. He's trying to work on fellow Kiwi and fellow Scott McLaughlin, that is, for a podium position. The closing 22.5 laps.
And there you see the left-hand side of the screen, the dueling hybrid strategies. McLaughlin right now not opting to use any of the available power. Probably doesn't feel like he needs to right now. Just staying at 100% charge, whereas Scott Dixon is deploying hybrid coming off the corners.
We talked about it earlier. It's really all about timing. One of the reasons McLaughlin's maybe being a bit choosy as to when he uses it is if he gets too close to the car in front, that can actually create a balance upset. You left off the throttle, and then that gives Dixon behind him the opportunity to make a move. So you kind of have to be strategic on how and when you're deploying. Dixon seeming very comfortable right now in his wheel track.
Well, Will Power seems very comfortable. Just stay where he is, because the lap time of Nolan Siegel, the last car in the lead lap, he just did a 19.2. That's just as fast as the top 3 cars just turned on the last lap. So the 16th place car right here with Nolan Siegel, plenty quick to keep the gap that Will Power needs.
Just to go back to the hybrid point that you guys were making a little earlier, I think hats off to IndyCar and everybody involved, because this is the first oval race with the new V6 hybrid unit. Only second race ever after however many thousands of miles in testing, and it was a long process. But to have, yes, there were some hiccups yesterday in qualifying. There was one hiccup at Mid-Ohio with Scott Dixon, but it's showing tremendous reliability. There was a brief network outage yesterday, but look, nothing new doesn't have teething problems. And I want to say so far so good.
Very impressive at Mid-Ohio with the way the system performed, especially knowing that IndyCar introduced this mid-season. There were some delays in getting it going, and they worked really hard to implement the system. But all systems go today as Palou continues to try to find a way to get closer. Got to be tough out there, James. I mean, hot conditions, 120-degree track temperature right now, almost 90 ambient. And you know that car is going to slide just the moment you get a little high offline. And Palou's a points driver. He made a mistake yesterday. It was a big one. He does not want to mess up today.
$15 laps to go here at Iowa Speedway. Will Power has not won on an oval since Pocono in 2019. That's kind of hard to fathom. And he is well in control. Getting closer and closer, and he's never notched up a win here at Iowa Speedway either. Being chased down by a fellow two-time champ in Alex Palou. Can McLaughlin do anything about them? 2.5 seconds adrift. What about Dixon? He's right on McLaughlin. And Colton Herter is hovering in 5th. Will traffic play a part? Power's already racked up 38 laps, leading after again starting 22nd after a misstep in qualifying where he grazed the wall, and that put him down to a very unfamiliar qualifying spot. But some clever strategy, a little bit of luck has put this guy at the front.
Watch this Verizon onboard. We talked earlier about how smooth Will Power was with the throttle. I want you to listen down in turn 1. It's starting to get a little more aggro. He's starting to get after the loud pedal a little earlier, a little more aggressively right here.
Sounds like smooth sailing right now. Less than 10 laps to go for Power.
He'll be checking his mirror, checking how close Palou can get, as Palou just continues to struggle to find any opportunity to work clean air.
And you know Palou's going to be frustrated. So close to that win at Mid-Ohio, so close again here today. Not over yet, but this is a deja vu all over again for him, staring at the back of a car that he was in front of for a good chunk of this race. But in front of these leaders, guys, Nolan Siegel getting a little racy. That's David Malukas right in front of him. You see the long train of cars.
Oh, boy.
They're trying to get some moves done with a handful of laps to go.
McLaughlin has made up almost half a second, make it 0.6 of a second. Here comes McLaughlin. He's starting to catch Palou. And then Dixon is right there with him. That yellow and white XPEL Chevy, can it get there with these top two?
Very close this time.
Now Palou's getting there.
Less than 0.2 of a second between them now. That's as close as Palou's been. This battle up front, it's just taking air options away from Will Power.
Looks like the 66 at David Malukas, the pink and white car, starting to struggle a little bit on old tires. Nolan Siegel looking for a way around. So the pace is slowing for these lap cars.
And guys, 5 laps to go. Less than 5 miles of racing. Is it going to be Will Power's first win on an oval in nearly 5 years? Will it be Alex Palou's first win on an oval ever? Two-time champions going at it at the front.
And it's these micro decisions you're making on the fly that are going to make or break your day if you're Will Power.
4 to go.
How close do you get to Nolan Siegel? If you get a run, do you try to throw it in there, or are you just trying to maintain this gap, maintain this position, and almost try to drive Palou's car behind you?
The temptation as a driver, if you're Alex Palou, is to dip your left side tire down onto that white line and try to weight jack the car and find a little grip. But it has caused chaos for many drivers here at Iowa because the banking goes away somewhere there and there's the new pavement seam. And I think Palou is making high percentage decisions right now. He's thinking championship.
Yeah.
35 points to the good as Alex Palou runs second.
At one point in this race, McLaughlin was second in the points. He's now drifted out to 5th in the points. But with 6 races left on this schedule and plenty of ovals, Palou has still more opportunities to get that first oval win, because it's going to be hard here with 1 more lap left to go for Will Power and Team Penske to continue the Penske dominance of Iowa Speedway. It may not be the king of corn country, his teammate Joseph Newgarden or Scotty Mack, who won last night, but the 43-year-old Australian is about to get win number 43. Will Power victorious for the first time at Iowa Speedway. From 22nd on the grid, and Stingray Rob is upside down. Massive crash at the end of this race. Rossi, Ed Carpenter, and Kyle Kirkwood.
Heading into the back straight, all sorts of chaos. Thank goodness for the aero screen. You see.
I think so.
But I think Kyle Kirkwood's pinned in there. The left rear of Ed Carpenter is in a very awkward position on the air hose for Kyle Kirkwood. He's moving in the cockpit, but he needs to chill here and wait for the safety team to help.
From where he's sitting, I don't think he can see that tire is right above his head. He can't look up. AMR safety team quickly on the scene. It's so hot. As soon as you stop moving, it is so hot in those cars when there's no air. Kyle just desperate to get out, to get some clean air, some fresh air more than anything, but he is trapped in there. They're gonna need to get a crane to get that car off.
AMR safety team indicating they need help pushing, but there's so many safety team members tending to the inverted car of Stingray Rob as they'll take very good care to roll the car back over as gently as possible.
Oh, wow. Kyle Kirkwood out, Ed Carpenter out. Haven't seen Alexander Rossi yet, but that's a relief for Kirkwood, and so too Stingray Rob. Thank you to the AMR safety team doing their usual stellar work. You can see Stingray Rob talking with the AMR safety team inside the cockpit. There's Alexander Rossi.
Man, for as calm as things finished at the front with the top 5 runners, something went horribly wrong at the back of the field.
Those two good friends, they're keeping these guys, oh, let them out of the cars, guy. It's too hot. It's too hot to make drivers sit there. Luckily, all the drivers involved in the incident seem to be all right. Ed Carpenter assessing the damage to his car.
Second day in a row for Ed Carpenter that he ends the race with big damage. Had a crash in the closing laps yesterday.
How about that? Will Power breaks a tie with Mike Landretti. He is the 4th most successful driver in IndyCar history as far as the wins list is concerned. Well done. So he had to wait nearly 2 years to get a win. He's had 2 wins on this season. And there's his teammate Scotty Mack to share the podium.
Scotty Mack, the winner yesterday. 2 wins for Team Penske.
He says finally, because he'd never won at Iowa Speedway. He has now, Kev.
And this is number 10 on an oval. As you've talked about, he now loves this style of racing. It took him a little while. To win number 42. Now he's passed Michael Andretti for number 43. But first of all, how did you go from where you started in the back to win this race?
Massive fuel save. Honestly, just sitting in the pack. Had a really good car, really fast car, so I just sat back and used that pace to save fuel. Just getting a massive number, and I knew once all those guys pulled in, I could go hard. And then we caught a yellow, because that was sort of the thing we were hoping for, is to get one of those yellows, put us to the front, and then we were able to get better fuel behind Palou and then go a couple laps longer than him and jump him. So I've been trying to win this race for years. So over the moon, the guys did a great job. I felt really bad for him yesterday when I accidentally buttoned off on the pit speed limiter and ruined our day. But we're right in the game, and got to thank Verizon and Chevy for such tremendous support, and going to fight this hard to the end.
Only 35 points back in the championship now. It had been 5 years since you'd won an oval. Was that starting to weigh on your mind a little bit? Because I know how much you now love this style of racing.
It was, actually. I thought coming into the season, I'm going to win an oval this year. I want to win an oval, and I want to win multiple races. And we're still pushing and getting it done. Thanks, Ron. Thank you.
Mostly green. How are you physically with this long run in the heat today?
Yeah, it was good. It was fine physically. It was a bit heavy at the end there when we were pushing hard on tires, but yeah, it's all good.
Congratulations. Will Power has won at Iowa to Georgia.
Alex Palou comes home second, and Alex, I know you wanted one spot further, but after yesterday, you're finishing on the podium today. Can you consider today a successful day?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good weekend. I mean, yesterday was a terrible day for us. Just made too many mistakes, but rebounded today. Almost got the win. I mean, it was really tough to pass. I think nobody could pass. They got us on the pits because they had a little bit more fuel, same as what we did to the 3 cars. So yeah, solid P2. Looking forward to Toronto next week. But yeah, it was overall a good weekend.
Solid day and a big rebound for Alex Palou.
Well done, really good. We said right from the start he was on the road to redemption for what happened yesterday. AMR safety team still working with Stingray Rob. You see the youngster from Idaho. He's kind of sitting on the edge of the aero screen. See him right in the middle there, and he's in the best hands with the AMR safety team. This is what happened. This is our first look at it. Wow!
Did Rossi run out of gas?
Oh, that
oh my gosh!
Air time.
Wow.
For Stingray Rob, yeah, something clearly wrong with the 7 of Alex Rossi. Slow off a 2.
Then these are just cars that were reacting because Rossi would have been spinning across the track. And I'm sure Kyle Kirkwood at Ed Carpenter. Here's another angle.
I mean, yeah, Edge is losing it on his own. Same with Kyle Kirkwood, just getting on the brakes. When you see an IndyCar in the air upright like that, you tend to react in ways that might not be normal for if you see a car spinning or something like that. So both of those guys just caught off guard, maybe getting on the brakes a little bit too hard and spinning themselves.
The 22-year-old Stingray Rob in very good hands, and we will update you when we hear something. But that was a wild end to this Hy-Vee one-step 250. Let's hear, we've heard from the top 2 on the podium. Let's hear from Scott McLaughlin. Kev?
Yeah, first and third. Hadn't won in an oval, now 2 podiums, led almost 100 laps. Anything different that you can do in this race? Just circumstances that kept you from winning again.
Well, firstly, I just want to hope Stingray's okay. That was a hell of a crash and a bit scary. But yeah, we probably caught the yellow just at the wrong time there in that first run. But like you said, a first and a third, I'll take that. And best thing about it, I can have a beer now, enjoy the concert. So I'm excited. Got a lot of friends here, had a lot of people out here supporting the 33s, and yeah, just nice to get the championship back on track, and we're right in the game.
By the way, our cameras just caught Stingray giving a thumbs up as he is taken to get evaluated. So championship now, even a little more in it now after a really solid weekend?
Yeah, don't sleep on us. I said that many times, don't sleep on us. We'll keep coming. We've got ovals that we like coming up, and I feel good on Toronto too. So, you know, I just got to keep driving the way I can, no mistakes, and execute the best I can, and hopefully, you know, it bodes well. But ultimately, you know, the 2 out front, Will and Alex have been class of the field all year. It's a matter of just trying to catch them and capitalise when they make mistakes. Thanks.
Well, the boys mentioned points there. Let's have a look at the updated points, because that man there who drives the DHL Honda, Alex Palou, still leads. He came in with a 48-point advantage before the doubleheader. He leaves with a 35-point lead. Right now, we step aside for NBC News Special Report. Our coverage will continue over on CNBC. Race winner Will Power, victorious at Iowa Speedway for the first time with his young son Bo and wife Liz. It's a family affair here at a track that he's never won at, so big relief. And it was the most improbable victory when he started in 22nd position, but never count out this Indy 500 winner and 2-time series champ. He's like, yes, finally. I've been trying to win at this track for a long, long time. Well, don't have to wait anymore, and he can add his victory from Road America to this, his first oval victory in almost a 5-year period of time. And continues the Team Penske domination. The president of Team Penske, Tim Cindric, stepping in there to congratulate Will Power. He doesn't call the strategy for the 12 car, but of course, he oversees everything, and Will's being told, hey, we need you up on the podium. It's time to celebrate.
You got a trophy to collect there, fella.
Kelsey Ballerini and Post Malone coming up. Yeah, the concerts, 4 concerts each year. Different, 4 different artists each and every year. Here comes the stage. They do it right here at Iowa Speedway. It is unreal.
I love the way this is built out. It's bespoke for this speedway, this situation. You see how the stage is just above the pit wall. It comes together like an erector set. Pretty cool. They do it about 10 minutes, get the whole thing set up, including the VIP zone, as we take a look back at the Pennzoil moment of the race. And it was the pit stops. Will Power getting out ahead of Alex Palou. Team Penske, all 3 of their drivers and teams crushing it, frankly, on pit lane today, and that was the difference for Will Power.
You hear him talk about how fuel saving was one of the tricks. This is just out of Scott Dixon's playbook, isn't it? How many races has he won by virtue of being great on fuel?
You save early, it gives you flexibility in terms of how you play the strategy, and in today's situation, when the yellow came out, still being out on track.
So, equal best result of the season for Will Power. Best result of the year for Graham Rahal. Let's hear from him with Dylan.
That's right. It was a really solid weekend for the 15 crew. Graham was fast yesterday, just kind of got buried by track position, but good day for you guys here. How did you get the job done and ultimately come away with your best run of the year?
Yeah, well, yesterday was a bummer. Broken wheel. Of all the 8 spokes, only 1 was left holding on, and I'm thankful for that one because it would have been a huge accident without that. But the bad luck streak kind of kept hitting us, but today the boys just did a solid job. The car was very fast all weekend. Thought clearly we were the best of our team, and that showed today. And boys did a good job in the pits. We just, this is telling Oriole, we're just refining. We're learning a lot with this hybrid. We're learning a lot, I think, today on the fuel mixtures. I think others had a more aggressive fuel mixture in there, and they also probably, things I think is to change the regeneration of the MGU, the power unit, help save fuel. So we're learning, and I think if we were to run back here tomorrow, it'd be better. And I also thought the track was finally starting to get there. Guys were using a lane and a half. It was starting to develop, and so I know it was a tough race, for everybody, but the reality was it was starting to come in like the old Iowa. So I'm excited to get back here next year and see some good racing.
Yeah, how was the challenge today of kind of feeling out that top groove? But obviously when it's hotter like this, it inherently kind of just gets slicker. So what was that like?
It's hard to want to be the gutsy guy when you're in the top 7, 8 there. But Rossi got me on the high side on the restart. I was kind of choked up behind Pietro, who was a lap down, and that cost me. And he made a good run around the outside. So it was kind of there at the end. I was trying 1.5. I had some good runs on Kirkwood, good runs on Newgarden. But it's tough sledding. I mean, I think people got to understand from the test we did here, we're down 400 plus pounds of downforce. That's a huge chunk that you're trying to learn, let alone a new tire. So, as I said, I thought today was a much better race. At least for us, there was a lot more action happening. And frankly, with maybe a couple more holes of downforce, not all the way to max, but a couple more for next time around, I think it put on a heck of a good show.
Good day for Graham Rahal, finishes in the 8th spot. Georgia.
It was also a good day for Santino Ferrucci, and I must say, you definitely made it exciting. I feel like there were 4 or 5 laps there where you were passing people on the low side, the high side, and everything in between. How were you able to do that?
I like this track a lot. I truly believe in the high side and making it work. We had a really great race car. Bummed we couldn't get back inside the top 10, just obviously missing out. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Honestly, I went wheel to wheel with Kyle for maybe a good 3 laps, just, bumping off each other. It was probably the most fun I've had in a race car this year with this series, but it was awesome. So I hope everyone at the end of the race is obviously okay. And I can't thank Sexton Property Chevrolet and AJ Foy Racing for a great race car all weekend and some awesome results to get to the 10th in the championship.
Santino ends the day in 11th.
He gave us some of the highlights too, for sure, with those big moves. But let's go to the podium. Will Power, Alex Palou, Scott McLaughlin. All three guys in the top 5 in the championship, and you just got that feeling, Hinch, that these guys are going to duke it out all the way to the end.
I think it's going to be a great battle. You know, we've seen how proficient and how strong these Penske cars have been on these short ovals, but you can never count out Ganassi. And look, we talk about how Palou hasn't won an oval yet, but he is always up there, podiums, top 5s, top 10s.
We welcome you back to Iowa Speedway, where the Hy-Vee One-Step 250, presented by Gatorade, has been won by Team Penske's Will Power. The 2-time series champion and Indy 500 winner has never won at this track, and when you've been around for as long as Will, that kind of was a thorn in his side, but now he can smile and spray the champagne because Kevin Lee's finally got it done.
So Kyle Kirkwood was one of those involved in that very scary incident at the checkered flag. You have any idea what happened ahead of you?
I know Rossi was running out of fuel and stayed on line. He was going much, much slower. My spotter apprised me of the situation, but clearly it was a bit too late for Stingray there. So hopefully he's okay. Hopefully everyone that's gotten out is okay. Yeah, definitely a very, very scary wreck. Flipping multiple times up in the air. As soon as I saw that, they were actually slowing down so much because Rossi was already going slow and Stingray's in the air, and he's pretty much like a parachute when you're sitting perpendicular to the road with one of these cars that I lifted out of the throttle, out of the corner, and then instantly spun myself. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. Sorry for the guys. We were having a good race there. But, you know, we were actually still on the last lap, so we actually didn't finish that bad. I'm actually surprised looking at this scene that we finished 16th. So, yeah. Sorry to the guys. Hopefully everyone's okay. Scary wreck. Glad everyone is semi-okay.
A lot of us are claustrophobic too. When you're trapped in the car and I'm sure it's boiling hot, what were those few moments like and how anxious is that?
I hate being stuck inside the car. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. When I was stuck at Indianapolis upside down, the first thing that you want is to get out of the car. And obviously the safety crew came over, they got to me within seconds, and they calmed me down and said, "You're good, we'll help you out, we're here for you." So that was very calming for me. But no, initial thought when you crash and there's a car on top of you or you're stuck, the last thing you want to do is be on fire, and that's initial instinct for a driver is just get out. But obviously these cars are so safe now to where we don't have to be too concerned, and obviously the AMR safety crew was there for us in case anything was wrong.
So glad you're okay. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
And you often hear us heap praise on the AMR safety team. You just heard it from one of the drivers there, Kyle Kirkwood, who was trapped inside his car for a brief moment, but okay. The Advance Auto Parts checkered flag moment, none other than Will Power of Team Penske, victorious here in Iowa.
Awesome job, Jay, buddy. Awesome job. Great job bringing that Hy-Vee car to the win. Guys, what did we just do? Christian, first of many. Many more to come. Oh, my God, guys. Thank you.
And that's coming your way July 21st, heading north of the border to Hinch's hometown of Toronto, Ontario. At Exhibition Place, a really special spot for Christian Lundgaard of Rahal Letterman Lanigan. Good to go home, Hinch?
Always. Love that place. It's like Christmas in July for me. That's the track that made me fall in love with IndyCar. I've been to that race every one since 1988.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, listen, it was a wild finish. It was a great finish for Will Power. It was not the great finish for Ed Carpenter and Stingray Robb and Kyle Kirkwood and Alexander Rossi. Let's hear from Ed Carpenter.
Yeah, Ed Carpenter, one of those involved in the last lap incident. First, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Just angry.
I know we're going to play a replay for you here in a second, but what did you feel? What happened from your perspective?
I mean, I knew Alex was off pace up ahead. My spotter had told me a couple laps before. And it looked like Stingray just misjudged the closing rate somehow, even though it was clear Alex was slow. And then I spun just trying to get down. Didn't think it was going to be that bad. I kind of slid into Alex, and then I think Kirkwood came from behind and hit me and like launched me right over the top of Alex. That was the hardest part of the crash. But yeah, just a shame, 2 days in a row, 2 accidents that, really I was just a victim of. you know, but just hate it for the team, the amount of work they have to do last night to get ready for Toronto, you know, see if there's enough hybrids to keep replacing to put in these things to keep that thing going. You know, just brutal. Hopefully we can get some results.
We're glad to see that you're okay. Dylan.
Pato O'Ward finishes in the 6th spot today, had a 2nd last night, so kind of a quiet day for you, but how would you sum up today's run?
Yeah, no, first of all, I think Stingray did the thumbs up, so at least he's in conscious, but solid weekend for us in terms of points. Other than that, I mean, from the looks of it and just from the sounds of it, it was a snooze fest. Yeah, Palau and Power should go straight to Las Vegas with how lucky they got with that yellow. But yeah, on to Toronto.
How was the track evolving over the course of today and even compared to yesterday?
How what?
How was the track evolving and changing compared to yesterday and just from start to finish today?
It was quite similar balance-wise, I would say. You know, I think yesterday you saw a lot more changes in the pit stop sequences when everybody was very packed up. But today everybody was within 8/10 of each other, within a second of each other, and then there really was not a lot going on, I would say. At least my race was extremely quiet.
All right, Pato finishes 6th today, and it was a 2nd yesterday. Good weekend for the 5-team, Georgia.
Yes, and 2 fourths in a row for Scott Dixon. I know yesterday you said there were some things that you wanted to change to bring into today. Do you feel like those things happened?
Yeah, we didn't have as many issues, so that was kind of nice. But yeah, we really the only racy part would have been maybe the first stop, and obviously the 12 and the 10 got pretty lucky there, or did a good job of saving fuel. Were able to extend to catch that caution. There was a huge help, obviously, for the 12. But then they did a good job, obviously, on the last overcut there too on the 10. So, yeah, we didn't never pass anybody. We didn't get past. We just kind of stayed 3rd and then got jumped by the 12 and ended up 4th. So, pair of fourths is you know, kind of what we had this weekend. Everybody on the PNC Bank number 9 did a hell of a job. But yeah, it's a shame. You know, this track has been a lot of fun in the past and multi-lanes. Hopefully, we can figure something out for next year and try and get that 2nd lane to come back in.
With those long green flag runs, how physical does that get?
Not much at all, really, because it's pretty smooth now, and you know, okay, the conditions are pretty warm today, but you know, everybody's running a cool suit. You're kind of in a big fuel save mode because you know, once the leader catches the back of the pack, you know, everybody kind of runs the same mid-19 time, and you know, yeah, so it's actually not too bad.
Well, nonetheless, a pair of fours for Scott Dixon this weekend. Thanks, Scott.
And it keeps him in the championship hunt. The 6-time champ is just 57 points behind his teammate Alex Palou. Stage is being set for Kelsey Ballerini. She's up next, and center of the stage as far as the drivers. Will Power victorious here in Corn Country. Here are the unofficial results of the Hy-Vee one-step 250. Will Power with his best ever result here at this particular speedway. Alex Palou keeps himself in the championship lead with a 2nd, and McLaughlin comes away from this doubleheader hinch with a 1-3 result, 1st and 3rd.
Not a terrible way to wrap up the weekend. Looking down, Santino Ferrucci put on a lot of showing for us tonight. Great showing. A lot of action on the racetrack. Linus Lundqvist up there, highest finishing rookie.
And then a lot of drivers that wish they had a better day. Stingray Robb and Ed Carpenter with massive contact on the last lap. But let's take a look at the onboard for Alexander Rossi here. Out of fuel there, exiting turn 2, and looked like a spaceship taking off as Stingray Robb went up and over, and then more contact, adding insult to injury. Rossi just chewed up down the back straight.
Just running out of fuel, then getting hit by 3 different cars at different times in different ways.
And look, see the surround? That's the aero screen. Came in, introduced, what, say 4 years ago? And this has been unbelievable for IndyCar and keeping the drivers safe. One guy who wasn't expecting to race here this Sunday, but he did, unfortunately didn't get to the checkered flag. Connor Daly is with Georgia.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate circumstance retiring early from the race, but Connor, I have to know, just how big of a feat is it to jump in a car when you didn't even know you were going to be racing earlier this weekend?
Well, this must be the first time NBC's ever talked to the last place finisher, but I appreciate it. It was hard, honestly. But for me, I love the start. I hope that I get a clip from our camera because I think we passed like 2 or 3 rows of cars by the end of the first lap, which is what Iowa is all about, right? We love that. But yeah, I mean, it's just tough. Like the hybrid, I was kind of figuring out what where and when to use that, because you can definitely, it's not a huge boost here, but you can definitely utilize it in certain ways to kind of help defend and maybe attack. So it was a big learning experience, and honestly, I just hate it for these guys. Like, to have a failure of any kind, you know, that's tough. It's just no one's fault. Like, this is a hard sport that we are playing, so things happen, and they deserve better because they had great cars. So, like, the cars were fun to drive. So it is what it is.
Thanks, Connor. Kevin.
We're back near the Infield Medical Care Center with the head of IndyCar Medical, Dr. Julia Visor. Give us an update, what you can tell us about Stingray Rob.
Stingray is doing well. He's awake, he's alert, he's in good condition. We're going to send him to the hospital for precautionary measures to get some advanced imaging. He's going to go by air just because of the location, but he's in good spirits and he says hello to everyone.
Okay, that's good news. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. That's really important. And we did see that image of Stingray Rob being put into the back of the medical vehicle, and he gave the double thumbs up. So that was a promising sign. And even though there's still 2 concerts to come, guys, that was a very eventful weekend. That's what we've come to expect the last 3 years from the Hy-Vee doubleheader.
I think you kind of expect the unexpected here. That's always been the name of the game here in Iowa. And you look at how the points shake out after 11 rounds in a 17-race championship. Alex Palou, the gap is shrinking.
But it's still a gap. And I think for Alex Palou, if I'm in his situation, a bit of relief to come out of Iowa still holding the championship lead. We'll have to wait for his first oval win at some point down the road, but you gotta think it's coming. And things are not done here yet at Iowa. Post-race concerts about to kick off with Kelsey Ballerini and Post Malone closing things out at 4:45 Eastern.
We need to say congrats to everybody here from Iowa Speedway, IndyCar, and Hy-Vee. You have all collaboratively done it again. What a weekend. It's so much fun. It's more than just a couple of races. It's a festival for sure.
I think about all the times I've flown over Iowa before we raced here, looked down and wondered what happens down there with all those cornfields. Well, Hy-Vee, thanks to them, they've showed us a great time and what's possible. If you can think it, you can do it.
Entertainment's still coming and bringing everybody close to the racing and close to the music. It has been a fun weekend, and thanks so much for watching it. The Hy-Vee one-step 250 won from 22nd position by Will Power in the Verizon Chevy. An incredible performance. And that's his first ever career win. And this is how the race ended after the checkered flag. A wild crash, but as we've heard, everybody is okay. Coming up next is the final round of the American Century Championship from Lake Tahoe, California. This is Lee Diffie saying thanks for watching IndyCar on NBC.